on the screen, right?
Okay, greetings everyone. Welcome to Connect Africa. We are here so early morning according to our time, but if you are on a different time zone, good afternoon, good evening, but it's a good morning for us. So, yeah, we are here early morning because we really have to report on this one as we have been following on the Dangote, Nigeria, Bola, Tinubu, all these things are so connected and the oil refinery. So, first of all, I really have to apologize the way that I am dressing. I am in a different out of home, so inconvenient for me. But at the same time, we really have to do that. So I really apologize. This is not out of a disrespect or anything. Okay. So proceeding, Kwame, we are hearing that now that what is trending is actually the connection of Bola Tinubu and the Malta oil blending. The Nigeria has been importing from there, and then Aliko Dangote has kind of hinted something that because the VIPs own this and that. What is all this? First of all, like see us that we know nothing, ask the audience, including myself, and explain to us what's going on.
Yeah, thank you, Mallet, and good morning and good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are across the world. We are glad that you are part of Connect Africa. We've been covering this for a long time. We have covered the refinery, the Dangote refinery, for a long time. And because of the consequences, as we have mentioned, which this refinery has on the African continent. Actually, I was reading an article just this morning on Reuters, and the article said that Europe has been benefiting lucratively, highly lucratively. They used the word highly lucrative. So they were saying that it has been lucratively profitable, the sending of refined products from Europe. So they see this refinery as a problem. So when Dangote is getting all these problems, we should not be surprised. We should not be surprised that Dangote is getting these problems. Both Europe and then in Nigeria itself, the corrupt agents of imperialism are not happy. And we explained that in our video. If you have not seen that video, you should go out and examine that video where we connected the foreign interests, the imperialist interests, and then the internal, players who are playing for, imperialism, who are trying to play for imperialism. Now, Dangote came up a few days ago and mentioned that he's willing to fight. First of all, we explained this after, he appeared at the Africa CEO Forum in Kigali, and then later on at the Africa Import and Export Bank, where he appeared, he mentioned that he's willing to fight. He's going to fight because he has invested a lot of money, which is, $20 billion. It's a lot of money, to be honest. And it has never been done on this African continent, not even in Nigeria. So he mentioned that he's willing to fight. Now, a few days ago, when the attacks were increasing on him internally, both from the CEO of one of the regulators in Nigeria, and also from other people who are calling him a monopoly, to the extent that even he called off his investment in steel. He wants to invest in steel. So he said that there is element. So this is a few days ago. Dangote said that there is elements in the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, or Nigerian National Petroleum Company. There's elements who have oil, blending facilities in Malta. Now, oil blending facilities means that they take oil blending facilities. It can be crude oil or it can be refined oil. So they take different brands of oil from across the world, and then they mix it and then they sell it to a certain market. All right. So what this means is this: when you are drilling oil, when you are drilling for crude oil comes from comes in different types, depending on the sulfur content. And we mentioned here in one of our analysis, and that is why we want people to be careful, paying attention to what we are saying here, because this is very important information. Nigeria has some of the best crude oil in the world. That is why they want it very much, and they are even refusing to give it to Dangote. So what I mean by this is that it has low sulfur content. So which means is that the process of refining is cheaper. It becomes cheaper for you to refine Nigeria's crude oil. Now, if you compare this to the oil, which is called the WTI, Western Texas Intermediate, which is from the United States mostly, it has a higher sulfur content compared to the oil, to the crude oil that is produced or comes from Nigeria and all this area of the Gulf of Guinea. All right, because it's not just Nigeria, but you have to look at the whole continent. You have to look at where Nigeria is. So the Gulf of Guinea, this area, the crude oil is very nice. So this oil is not only specific to Nigeria. All right, so this should be very well understood. Now, when you go to Venezuela, they have crude oil which is very heavy. All right, it's extremely heavy. Okay, compared now to Western Texas in Intermediate, and then compared to the sweet crude which is coming from Nigeria. Okay, so when it comes to blending, people normally take this crude oil and they will blend it. All right, they will blend it and then sell it to certain markets, both the crude oil and also the finished products. So like for the finished products, you will see that they will go to refineries which are selling which are all the type of refineries, like in Europe. All over Europe, the refineries which were built in Europe, majority of them were built after World War II. All right, after World War II. So these are all the refineries. So which means that they do not have the capacity to refine crude oil to the highest standards, like what you are seeing the new refinery of Dangote will be able to do. So this has caused a lot of fear. All right, so they will take that crude, which is low quality, and they will blend it maybe with some good quality. We have seen that. We have seen these with the corrupt people even in our communities who sell in shops, that they will take some good goods which are high quality, and they will mix it with some low quality so that they can be able to sell more and get more profit. So this happens even in the area of crude oil. So Dangote came out. Mallet, if you will help me, maybe I will show where Malta is so that people can be able to understand where Malta is. Now, what happened is this: is Dangote came out and said that there's elements within the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation who are blending crude in Malta. All right. So Malta, this is where it is. It is at the top. It is at the top of the African continent. It's close to Europe. Okay, that island actually at one time it was governed even by the Moors. The Moors were Africans, and then it was colonized by the British also. Okay, so it got its independence later on. So it is just at the top of North Africa, just in the Mediterranean. That is where the island is. So they have facilities. These corrupt elements who are working with imperialism, they have facilities over there in Malta. That's where they are mixing the oil from, the finished, the refined oil from the bad and the good, and then they will bring that to Nigeria. And as we have seen, that when the oil from the particular petrol stations in Nigeria was tested with the Dangote laboratories, the world class laboratory which Dangote has on the refinery, they found that it has more than 1,800 to 2,000 parts per million of sulfur, compared to Dangote's own, which was around 89. I think it was 89, 80 to 89, somewhere there. So which meant that Dangote's refinery is high quality, is extremely high quality, all right, compared to that one. And now the bad elements within Nigeria, they were claiming that is Dangote's fuel, which is bad, that it has 600 parts per million. But even if Dangote's fuel had 600 parts per million, 1,800 to 2,000 is still high. It would be even twice as bad as Dangote, but even that was not true. And Dangote mentioned it very well. He cleared the air very well, and he said that our fuel started at 600 parts per million when we just started the refinery, because it was in the process of testing. We are still testing the refinery. So the fuel which was produced, it was around 600 parts per million of sulfur. All right. Now, right now, it is producing less than 100. And he promised that by the end of the month, it is going to go down to 10 parts per million from 80. All right, now compare that with what is being imported into the country. So this is the situation. Now, a few hours ago, yesterday, information came out, and that information it came from Aisha Yusefu, who published it even on her platform. For those of you who don't know Aisha Yusefu, she's one of the people, one of the leading, she was one of the faces of the SARS movement, the end SARS movement in Nigeria, whereby the Nigerian police killed a citizen and people came out on the streets and they started demonstrating. And of course, though that even spiraled into people demanding for good governance, because this was sort of like latent anger which was sitting down, for the people. So she was one of those. If you go to the internet and you ask for Aisha Yosefu, you will see her. There's a woman who's putting her hand up and she was putting on a hijab. So she came out yesterday and published some information on the happenings in Nigeria on this issue. There's information which came out online that has been viral about the ownership of the facilities in Malta. All right. Now, what we are going to do is that we are going to look at the ownership in Malta. Now, the companies that have been implicated, first of all, they say that there is a company called Raz Hanzil. Okay, there's a company called Raz Hanzil, and this company is present in Malta. Okay, the company is present in Malta, and that company has been associated with the president's family, the president Tinubu, President Tinubu. All right. So this company Raz Hanzil, they mentioned that owners of this company the owner of this company have been identified with the president's family. And Wale Tinubu is the chairman, is the group chairman, also group executive of this so-called Rans Anze in Malta. Okay, this is what has been identified. And a few days ago, actually, Malta, I shared this article with you. Even they mentioned that there has been an increase in the import of refined fuel from Malta to Nigeria. Okay, now that's number one. That's number one. This gentleman, Wale Tinubu, Mallet, give me once again. Let me share so that we can see this gentleman, Wale Tinubu. Who is he? Is we want to see who is Wale Tinubu. So this gentleman, Wale Tinubu, this is Wale Tinubu. It happens that he is also associated with another company within Nigeria, which is called Owando Petroleum. Okay, Owando Petroleum. Now,
And
if you
Wale
check,
Tunubu is how he's connected to Tinubu, son,
yes,
cousin.
yes. So Wale Tinubu, Bola Tinubu, the president, is his
Yeah.
uncle. Is his uncle, as you can see on the right side here. I've circled here so that everyone can be able to see. So now this, if we put it together with what is happening, and of course this gentleman also is associated with Owando Petroleum because he's an executive over there. He owns shares in Owando Petroleum, which operates in Nigeria. Now, if we piece this information together with what Dangote said, that there's certain people in the NNPC, and remember that in Nigeria the president is the minister of oil and petroleum. All right, in Nigeria the president is the minister of oil and petroleum, so which means he is the one who is the overlord, okay, of NNPC. And Dangote said that people in the NNPC, they have blending facilities in Malta and they are importing them into Nigeria, and they're importing bad fuel. They have been importing bad fuel into Nigeria, and he's willing to fight. So when you put this information together, it shows you that the president of Nigeria is the biggest, together with his people within the NNPC, they are the biggest, culprits in this enterprise of, ripping off not only Nigeria, but also Africa as a whole. They are the culprits in ripping off Africa and exploiting, Africa, and even stopping and standing in the way of industrialization. Okay, so this is what this means for today, and this is what we wanted to bring to you so that you can be able to appreciate this kind of important information. Back to you,
So,
Mallet.
yeah, thank you, Kwame. Really, thank you so much. And I just want to read for you quickly now. Twitter is explaining, of course, on what is trending, and there are some figures here how the Nigerian import has jumped from Malta. Okay, look now. I'll just read it for you. Malta is trending because a viral image shows that a Tinubu family controls an oil blending plant in Malta, and data shows that Nigeria petrol imports from Malta jumped from $13.3 million to $2 billion in only 2023, at 62,000 to 222% increase. Oh my God, that's unimaginable. That's incredible. But anyway, last week, Dr. Aliko Dangote implied that the reason that the cabals won't allow Nigeria have a working refinery is because VIPs have private refineries outside the country in places like Malta. Now, new data reveals that Nigeria imported petroleum products worth 2.08 billion in just 2023 from Malta, marking a 62 times percent increase from 47.5 million in 2013. Now, some figures are here: 59.9 million in 2014, 117.01 million in 2015, 13.3 million low again in 2016. No imports from 2017 to 2022. This was the time where Buhari was in power, right? I think so. In 2023, the figure jumped from 13.3 to 2 billion, and this is the time for you to know where Tinubu came to power. Okay, so this sudden surge revelation made some Nigerians to believe that Dangote's claim about certain NNPC personnel owning blending plants in Malta might be accurate. Okay, so I am sorry about that. Yeah, so these are I just wanted to read that, to you. So Kwame, quickly, I mean, we just wanted to reveal what's going on and explain this Malta connection. But now, where this does lead us, if you can just quickly predict and sensitize people briefly, and then, as the story is still developing, we will come back later, maybe in the evening, we will give a longer analysis. But now, given the considerations that, Nigerians are preparing for a mass protest, Tinubu's talking with military to crash it, and now this truths or facts came out, this data came out into daylight, and Dangote's prediction or hinting is now starting to be believable. I mean, it has been all the way believable. But yeah, what can we expect? What do you want to sensitize or know the African people?
So most importantly, I think that the people have to support everyone who's demonstrating, because our continent, we all know, we all agree that our continent is being taken over since 1966 with the overthrow of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Is being taken over, by imperialism. So it is important to support all these people who are demonstrating against this bad governance. Not only this bad governance, but the evil people who are just stealing Africa's resources, who are putting Africa down, who are participating in maintaining the African people in an oppressed position, in a poor position, whereby we don't have the facilities, we don't have the roads we need, we don't have the schools we need, we don't have the health facilities which we need to take care of our people. We live in bad conditions, bad houses, and yet all these resources would have been used for our people to develop. We would have developed. There's no reason why we would not have developed since 1960. And to be like Dubai, we have all these resources, but the resources are being used to enrich Europe, and enrich the United States and the Western world at the expense of our people. And who is aiding this process is people like Tinubu and the groups which have been coming all the way, Buhari and all of them groups, because some of them, of course, are cowards and they feel helpless, that they cannot fight and they don't want to fight for us. Many of them, they are over there in power. They don't want to fight for us. They don't want to risk and fight for us. So it's important to support the people who have come on top and they are willing to fight. Okay, these children or these young people who are out there and they want to demonstrate, is important to be out there, to support them. It is important also to note that this cabal internally, which has increased, since 2018 to 2022, or 2019 to 2022, that has increased the importation of these fuels, these bad fuels from Malta, is not acting in isolation. Is not acting alone. This is another thing which we have to be, alert about. We have to pay close attention to. You will see a company like Trafigura, which is been importing, is associated with the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, a company called Trafigura. It imports, it imports refined fuel. Actually, it's the one recently, when the article appeared that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has been selling another crude to Indonesia and using Trafigura to bring the refined oil. This company, Trafigura, is owned by whites, by Europeans from Portugal. All right. And this same company is involved in another major infrastructure on the African continent. And that infrastructure is called the Lobito Corridor. Okay, which that Lobito,
Oh,
that railway project, which they
oh,
are,
oh my
yeah.
God.
And I mentioned this. I even wrote this an article. I wrote an article on this railway project, and I mentioned those companies which are there. Now, one of the things which Nkrumah mentioned is this: is that the best way to start the process of defeating neocolonialism is to expose it whenever it rears its head. Whenever you see it, you expose it. This is very, very important. This is extremely important. And one of the things in which we have not succeeded as Africans is to expose the interlinks, the links between the African elites, all right, those who are exploiting, our continent. Of course, it doesn't mean that all the elites in Africa are exploiting our continent, but those ones who are participating, a lot of them are participating. So we had not yet succeeded in exposing these links. We had not yet, succeeded in exposing these African elites and these multinational companies, how they are working together to bring our continent down. So we have not succeeded in exposing
Come, you are frozen. There's an internet problem, but until he come back, yeah, so this is really briefly what we wanted to really want you to know before again a mainstream media comes and dumps its propaganda, so that you will not be just carried away with that. So stay alerted, know what is going on, and support your people in Nigeria. Show your support if you are Nigerian or not Nigerian. If you're an African, this is really a topic for you to follow. This is something that you have to say, this is my business. It concerns me, because the same thing what's happening now with Dangote versus the federal government of Nigeria is happening in every African country. So it's just one of the symptoms in the continent. It's happening everywhere. A quick shout out, Mohammed Musa Ali, hello, Jeff Tembo, you guys were one of the first here. Thank you again. What do we have here? Yeah, Zephania. Um, Dangote uses automatically on your site if they're against corrupt politicians who are in cooperation with international monopoly. Exactly, and the same name they want to give it to Dangote. Connect Africa, connect the dots. That's what we try to do. We alert you and we expose you to the evidence or research based analysis that we have, and you go ahead and make also your own research so that you can strengthen it and stay alerted. Ikisi, it's a shame that the leadership of Nigerian government is acting to stop Dangote refinery from operating in Nigeria. This is unacceptable. So what is ECOWAS doing? Oh my God, ECOWAS is led by Dangote. Actually, he made himself to be elected again as the chairman of ECOWAS, which shouldn't be actually. It's a rotation. So I don't know why they have elected him to be. But ECOWAS is just useless. You have seen how it was reacting towards the Alliance of the Sahel States formation or so it's just another instrument for France and US and others, their allies. I think Kwame has sensitized us to stay to be alerted to support Nigerians who are participating in this. They are paying a price. Know that this will not be taken lightly. It's a life and death matter. It's a lucrative business, not only for Bola Tinubu and his family, but also for the West. It's crazy. Just like what Africa is paying and sustaining IMF and World Bank with the huge interest that we are paying, that our heads of states taking a generational debt and taking it from our by increasing tax and price on our daily bread and fuel. We are sustaining IMF and World Bank just like that. We Africans, the poor people, with all the the price that we are paying for the fuel and whatever prices they are increasing on our daily consumption, we are sustaining this lucrative business in the world. So they will fight it. It will not be easy, but we have to support our brothers and sisters in Nigeria so that they can make this movement sustained. I think, Kwame, you have been finalizing it. I will just give you a minute, and so we will come back to this one maybe later.
Yeah, so it is very people to understand that this robbery, this exploitation is the same like what happened with slavery. It's the same exploitation that happened during colonialism. That they are achieving the same objectives. They are trying to achieve the same objectives which they achieved before, and they are interconnected. These, companies and corporations, and therefore these people who are inside the countries and the African continent and are working for the interest of the colony are not isolated. These people are not working in isolation. The internal saboteurs, they are working with these foreign companies. This is what we want our people to understand. And these companies are also working with the International Monetary Fund, like how you mentioned, and the World Bank. And again, these all these groups are working together with the government of the West. They are working together. They are not isolated, even though they come to our countries as investors. They may come as investors. That is what they claim, but they are not really investors. Okay, they are a part of a larger scheme, a larger cabal of imperialism, and that is what we call neocolonialism. Okay, they are trying to implement imperialism on our continent, are using that new system called neocolonialism. But they are a group. They are working together. They are working together with some of our internal people, internal agents, and of course those ones who are greedy and they don't care about our continent. They're working together with the corporations. They're working together with the Western government, and that is why you see that when we spoke about the Lobito Railway Corridor, you can see that this project, which is being built to exploit copper and all the other resources like cobalt from the Democratic Republic of Congo and from Zambia, to go and power the electric vehicles in the United States and build electric vehicles in the United States and Europe. You can see that it was launched by Biden. Even though it was launched by Biden, okay, and the Europeans working together, even at the G20 summit where Africa was admitted, into the G20 in India, Biden spoke about it and they said they have launched this project. Okay, the people who are carrying out this project, Trafigura, including Trafigura, who is involved in the bringing of dirty fuel in Nigeria, which is part of that particular project. And the United States military is all over in the Gulf of Guinea, and the French military, they are over there in the in the Gulf of Guinea, and the World Bank, all of them are attached to this. So you can see that this is a group of institutions, and these are groups which are working studiously for the impoverishment of Africa, and and the enrichment of Europe an enrichment of a few political class across the world and across the globe. So it's important for us to understand this when we are, out there fighting, when we are out there writing articles. So it's important that we do whatever we can to support all those who are fighting, this good fight of exposing this robbery and impoverishment.
So yeah, I think he made his point. Thank you very much again for tuning in, AKC Mohammed Musa, and then Jeff Tembo, all of you. So we will see you again on our tonight's session where we do a lengthy analysis on the subject. But until then, so we say bye bye, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Give it a like if you find it that what we bring you is a relevant and informative one. And of course, share the video with others. Do not keep the knowledge and information only to yourself. If you want to help us further, you can go to the description section and you can donate to our PayPal account. But we will see you on the next one. So until then, it's a bye bye. Ciao, ciao.